Welcome to the second session of the roundtable discussions of our exhibition, Out of Context. So we have two firms right now, two projects represented by three architects. We have Jiang of Atelier Jiang EID Arch from Shanghai, China, with the project Panda Pavilions in Panda Base on the outskirts of Chengdu, which is a world-class breeding center and research institution, with over 200 giant pandas living there. And we have ARCHcoop, represented by Garegin, Yeghoyan, and Aleksandr Vardanyan, who is here. Hi, Garegin, in Armenia. Unfortunately, you couldn't make it, but we are, breaking the boundaries and national borders and time zones, and we feel like you are sitting right with us. So we will be discussing of your firms. We will be discussing your Villa Yerats in Rind village. In Vyozdor region in Armenia, the project that was finished last year. It's a villa for winery owner, and we will discuss these projects right now. So two of these projects couldn't be more different from each other. One is a villa for a family in the mountainous region, outside of big cities, and the second one is panda pavilions on the outskirts of a major city in China, Chengdu. But nevertheless, there is a relationship, I think, and that's the relationship to topography, to nature, which we can discuss. What would you want to emphasize first as far as the relationship of your project to the site, to the ground, to typography? What do you think was the main challenge to bring it into that particular context? Maybe we can start with Pink. So take us to that place in Chengdu, in Sichuan province, the province where you actually grew up. And how did you have to address that particular location?
The Panda Pavilion actually is a very unique project for us because most of our projects deal with the urban environments. In this Panda Pavilion project, I think the base itself combines the scientific research, panda breeding, and together with the sort of public education and sort of environmental tourism. So the site itself is very hilly. So I think what we have to do is really try to see this opportunity to engage the building form with the natural surrounding, so it really becomes one. And also, we have this very idea of sort of create a minimal impact, sort of sustainable development by minimize the sort of alteration to the contour of the site. So if you look at the concept, the project, it's really inspired by the landscape, the natural landscape of this Chengdu region. So the undulating form of the pavilions mimicking the silhouette of the rolling hills. And we use this sort of a four circular open courtyard configuration. I think one of the main reasons is that by doing so, you actually give us flexibility to adjust the building form to fit in the topography very easily. So it merged into like one.
And I understand that this was a competition, and before there was a competition, there was another European firm that proposed their own solution, so which the client was not happy about. So you responded with very different design approach, and but also I think you had more than one option, right? So you took different directions before you picked the final one.
Right.
Yeah. And so let's go to Armenia. So we'll talk to Garegin. If you could reflect on how you address the site, I understand that there is quite a bit of contrast between architecture and the site, but yet you wanted to really embed it and reflect on it. If you could talk about your solution.
The designs are quite divergent, mine and my colleagues. The villa we designed is far from any settlement in a beautiful alpine spot, extremely picturesque. It was very difficult to make up one's mind about that mountainous area, designing a structure without having a departure point other than nature. It was the nature that dictated the location, the vineyard in front of the spot. We took a bold decision, and it may sound blunt, but let me put it this way. We approached the site with mild aggressiveness, placing a simple geometric. It may sound as an oxymoron, the mild aggressiveness. We put a rectangle, very simple form without replicating nature, but to mitigate the impact, we tried to suspend, to put it bluntly, to have deep shadows, to demonstrate, emphasize how the rectangle doesn't sit on ground, but simply leans on it. Our philosophy was that not to repeat the nature, but to somehow leave it as the only irrational thing in that undulating lines. And that rational volume had the complication of requiring us to work very finely with the scale, remaining in tune with the background without violating the scale. It's built on soft nuances, this work. That's it in a nutshell about the anchoring to the landscape. And of course, it's opening up, overlooking the whole villa with its glazing and shadows. It's overlooking, opens up to a vineyard. That's it. And of course, one more thing. The lifestyle which is typical to that particular province of Armenia, a winemaking province, the interior spaces open one into the other, onto the other. The floors are on different planes, and the external and the interior looking on the opposite side. One opens up on the vineyard, the other onto the hills. We try to also reflect somehow the lifestyle of those people.
You know, because we have a little bit of insight into your office, we have Aleksandr here. I wonder if there was, because you participated in the design of this project, and I wonder if there was any, fights, of different schemes, and were you proposing something more radical or more, in your opinion, more, something related to the site? I wonder how many options you went through, and what was the design process like?
I think the final design is very close to where we started designing. One of the major changes I remember is that there was a colonnade on one side of the building, like facing the corridor and outside. But We chose to forego the colonnade to increase the light that would come into the building, and there were no other major conflicts. Uh, there were some complications with the construction process because the site is quite remote, so we had to find a builder and then find another because the first one was not working well for the construction. But in the end, we actually did achieve a good result, I think.
Very good. And so, what about the design process in your case, Pink? What references did you play with? What did you bring into the project apart from the topography? Did you, have certain references to other projects around the world, even if they were not related to Panda pavilions programmatically, as far as geometry or relation to topography? What some of the references you can talk about?
In case of this Panda Pavilion project, I think we saw it as an opportunity to engage architecture with landscape, and also you have this opportunity to make a sort of architectural earthwork. So actually, it is the very key idea for this project is to have this fusion of architecture, landscape, and land arts. So I mean, you talk about the reference. I mean, I have been inspired by not only the landscape of this area, but also some of the contemporary artwork. The Western Richard Serres, some of the land arts, how those cordon steel pieces creating the movement, spatial movement, and how the sculpture engage with the land. And these are reference from the sort of a sculpture point of view. Also, we have look at some reference of the contemporary Chinese artwork as well, certain geometry. And I think for me, the inspiration comes from a variety of elements of references.
Yeah, a lot of architects talk about Richard Serra and his sculptures, his turked ellipses. They really influenced a lot of architects, and he's one of the key references in so many contemporary architects' work. And Garegin, so maybe you can talk about some of the references and inspirations that guided you perhaps in your design of this villa. What are they?
Yes, of course. To begin with, I have affection towards that type of nature. I like the dryness of it. The location where it was placed, where the villa was placed, is green for a very limited period, only in spring. Then it dries up and acquires a very interesting tone color. You have to be a little bit of a poet to be able to describe that properly. The white washed stones, the yellow soil, the dryness, the convoluted bodies of the vines. I like that type of nature. I like it and it resonates with me. And I found a painter, an Armenian painter who thinks alike. I saw my vision in his paintings. His name is Hakopian. I like him very much. Apart from landscapes, naturescapes, he has very good urbanscapes as well. He pictures great architecture as well, urban landscapes. So if you have the time, I recommend you to browse through his work. So that reinforced my point of view towards the nature, and it resonated inside me. That was a kind of vision that inspired me in designing this low scale, shadowy, calm building, not on the summit, but on the slope of the hill. The straight lines are in contrast, like I said, with the mountains, with the rocks, with the convoluted vines, although the vineyard also has some straight lines in it. So that was the inspiration that materialized in the idea of that villa.
Yes, thank you. Maybe we can talk a little bit about what challenges you had, what you faced working on these projects. What lessons would you take from the experience of designing and building? Both projects are built. I'm sure you changed the contractor, the builders. I don't know if you had to go through the same process, but tell us what were the biggest challenges in this project.
I think I'm going to share two stories on this project I found quite interesting. The first one is that the building configuration. At first, we designed this the building configuration more random and organic, and we thought compositionally it was much more interesting. But during the design development process, and also even in the middle of the construction process, we found out because there's this huge variation on those contours. So the organic sort of a configuration of the building form doesn't work with the contour that well as we planned. So we end up revise the geometry to almost a perfect circular shape. So you can work with the contour much more organically. You can simply by rotating those orientation to make all those functional component of this building work. Through that process, we also achieved the sort of minimal excavation of the hillside, which I thought is quite significant in terms of the development, sort of lower the carbon footprint point of view. Another interesting episode happening with this project is that typically we sort of prioritize the human experience. In this case, I think the well-being, the welfare of the bears actually takes a priority. At the beginning, we thought the roof towers would be a nice place to allow the visitors to have a sort of interaction with the bears.
Even inside the rings, you were thinking about.
And also the platform, even the roof of some of the pavilions. And then we were informed by the scientists that the bear will be stressed out if you place the visitor way above their location. So we end up having to revise the design. So make sure all the interface between the visitor and the bears are happening almost at the same level. Even the human access platform needs to be lower than some of where the animals are located. So we found that experience quite interesting. So the welfare of animals takes a priority over the human experience.
So this was a good interaction with the scientists
Right.
and the client.
It was a really, truly collaborative effort through the process.
And what about the challenges, if you could talk about your challenges, Garegin, in this project with the villa?
Of course. It never happens without challenges. I don't know whether I've mentioned that or not. The clients have their own characters, each one of their unique lifestyle, their individuals you have to cope with. It's not easy. They had announced a small competition between several architectural studios, but they finally chose our design. I believe that from early on, working with those type of clients boils down to the biggest challenge of trust. There has to be trust between the designer and the client, which is reinforced throughout the work when they gradually see the design taking shape. That was the initial challenge. The rest of the challenges were easier to to overcome. They mostly pertained with the culture tradition of construction practices, because you want to materialize your design at the high quality the way you originally intended. Although work of creation which is pure and honed and polished, that helps, especially if the design is detailed, that contributes, of course, to increase the quality of construction work. Those were the main challenges. Another, the ultimate challenge was the remoteness location. The access road was always a pleasure to traverse, especially each time you went to the construction site, you see changes. The most important, I believe, I don't know why, I have this impression that working with individual clients, trust has to be forged, that everything hinges on it. You have to trust each other. And that is acquired over time and is only reinforced.
Yeah, thank you. Something we didn't talk about in both cases, I think. What are your heroes, right? Who are your heroes? And do you have interesting examples, architectural examples that inspire you, that guide you, that you try to, visit and emanate? And for example, um, you both talk a lot about specificity of the site, the topography, but I wonder if any cultural figures come to mind as great inspirations or works of architecture that you could refer and speak of as really inspiring references. And I want to be surprised. When I talk to architects, often they go way back into the past, thousands of years back, or they may bring something which is very recent, built last year somewhere around the world. I wonder how it is for you. Are you actively searching, looking, trying to visit those places, going back to your books that you first discovered in your student days, looking for a perfect quotation? What are those forces and ideas that you bring into your work, into your architecture, besides specificity of the place?
For me, I think I found inspirations from many forms of arts. Yeah, it could be music, it could be fine arts, and architecture from time to time. And I I haven't been planning for those field trips deliberately in recent years, but I think still occasionally there are encounters that will surprise me and remind me of what great architecture piece that could be. I think the most recent experience is that I happened to visit a college campus, and then I was visiting one of Louis Kahn's building. It's simple, the British Arts Museum at Yale.
In New Haven.
In New Haven, yeah, very simple forms, but it's all about the lights and the spatial quality, and I thought that really struck me in how simple and how powerful that form of architecture could be.
Okay, this is Louis Kahn, who I'm sure is a big reference for Armenian architects as well. But who could you talk about as your inspirational figures?
That's my hobby. I like to travel around. In particular, during my travels, I try to locate structures that are of interest or even try to gain access to my favorite authors, architects. There was a time when I was greatly inspired by, although it's not, I'm completely dissimilar and I'm not striving to him, Aldo Rossi. I think he is my teacher, and I looked out for his buildings throughout the world and I studied them. So I've had such encounters. I've seen stuff in Berlin. In Portugal, I looked for villas by Caesar. I draw energy and vibes, and it's really inspiring me. I also like very much technical masterpieces. For example, the nose cones of airplanes, the shapes, or machinery, especially new cars that are fluid. I also paint and I draw inspiration from visual arts as well. Sometimes I even panic when I don't find a source of inspiration, but I look out for it continually. That's very topical. I also like the calming effect of nature. So I sometimes look for solitude. I like those states, remaining alone in a small town, watching little episodes. Sometimes I do sketches when I walk around unfamiliar places. That's an inspiration.
And finally, I would ask one final question. What would you say is the main message of your architecture? What are you trying to achieve with your work? What are the ultimate goals and aims?
That's a very big question. To me, I think architecture should have an identifiable essence, and I think it can create a sense of place and sense of community, and also to me, I think to create the meaningful and unique uh, architectural experience is very important, and create an environment which we can bring a positive impact on the surroundings. That's very important as well. I think beyond that, I think what we also trying to achieve with this panda pavilion is that we trying to create this poetic relationship between the building and land. I think architecture can go beyond the sort of programmatics and the usual norms to have a certain sort of lyricism in it.
Thank you. So I would ask Aleksandr to respond to that question as well before Garegin.
To us, we try to satisfy many clients, and some clients are obvious and some are not. In case of this project, well, to me personally, there are three types of clients. It is the person who orders the project, it's the person that later uses the project, and it's the person that passes by the project. And all of these people are impacted by it. So we feel a responsibility toward all of them. And in the case of the Rind Villa, like the first two types of the clients were combined, which should have made it easier, but it also complicated the work because you had to adapt both the design process and the end result, and to succeed in achieving everything as it was designed. And in case of this final client for this project, it's quite a remote area, so we didn't have to worry much about them, but I think we still succeeded in creating a structure that would be pleasurable to view for them as well.
Thank you. And Garegin, just to finish this session with your message and how you try to achieve good architecture.
It's really is not an easy question. My objectives are somewhat divergent. from work to another work, from one structure to another, the objectives differ. Of course, it matters for me what will be the end results, but the road that I traverse is no less important. I pursue an idea and I try to implement it in various structures until it's exhausted and it gets out of me, which is why the road matters. And there are, of course, some principles and criteria that I do not divert from. I do not want to. It's always important for me to see what I do augmenting the environment, whether it's an old structure. Both have to resonate with each other, the old and the new, complementing rather than contradicting each other. That's more or less the principles. Let me reiterate, I'm more preoccupied with the road because the objectives are different every time. The road is what matters.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for participating in this session, sharing your ideas and expressing your sides of how these projects were achieved. I really appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Garegin. We're very sorry that you couldn't come in person.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so
So
much
I
for your
once again reiterate
Thank you.
my thanks. It's a pity I'm not there next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.